Hello, and welcome to episode 316 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and we're going to be talking a little bit about limited, but we have limited information. This is a limited episode.
Ooh, double limited. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
last week during the show I made kind of a comment that maybe we were going to get back to a topic concerning like how the colors are laid out in this set,
hmm
and I decided, kind of without you, sorry to spring this on you, that we should do an episode about it, kind of in conjunction with our limited like signpost episode that we do. We don't have all the signposts, so we're not going to talk about any cards today. We're just going to kind of theory craft a little bit, I think.
hmm Sounds good. If you have things you want us to talk about going forward, you can reach out to us on social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, email. All those links are in the description. This is the time for if you see a neat card that you want us to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
or things like that, or if you have questions about how to draft like kind of a hard three color set.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll answer some of them here. But if you have more, we could talk about them in the future. So reach out to us, say hey, and program the show.
Absolutely. There are seems like a lot of really interesting cards so far.
hmm
Things that kind of break the norms a little bit, do weird stuff. So I know we're not going to have a chance to cover every card. So if there are specifics, like Brian said, hit us up. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, casualtryhard.com/TCG. Surf on over there, do whatever shopping you're going to do, and you'll support the show at the same time. We would appreciate it. The second way is through our Patreon, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Patrons get access to our show notes, so you get kind of a sneak peek about what the upcoming episode's going to be about. I usually post it a day or two before the show goes live. And patrons also get access to roughly another hour of content out of us every week in the form of our unshow. We're old, sometimes our equipment works, sometimes it doesn't, and we always need to catch up. So we spend about an hour before every show doing just that. We never know what we're going to talk about, so we kind of just put it out there raw for our patrons. They really seem to enjoy it. If any of that sounds good to you, or if you just want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG and chip a couple bucks in.
Yeah. So we talked in the pre-show and about the we had a cards versus no cards discussion.
Yep.
And I think we decided to go no cards because we don't want to be like, this is the signpost, and then them print out a more signpostier card.
Like the last few sets, it kind of seems like we've been kind of teetering on that edge anyway. There's multiple cards that fit the mold of a signpost, and some of them are actually a signpost and some are not.
I feel like we're kind of pushing into like the Modern Horizons 3 territory, like where they're kind of giving us like two cards a lot of times that are kind of like
Yeah.
signposts, or they're like doing like an uncommon and a common gold card,
Mm-hmm.
or like multiple uncommons.
Yeah.
And when there's like multiple uncommons, you kind of have to be like, is one of these a signpost, one of them just like a random thing?
Yeah.
Or like, do we need to look at them together? So we didn't want to do like half of them, or like have like a quarter of the uncommons,
Mm-hmm.
and not be able to like really do it justice and leave you like half notice. We might have to like revisit it, or at least kind of go through like, these are the signposts for each like color
Mm-hmm.
pair / I guess like wedge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be
So
closer to wedge. And also, if you
yeah.
remember back to last time we were on Tarkir, like that was very much a hard 3-color set.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we were on Ikoria, which is another wedge set, it was very much less hard 3 colors.
I mean, same with Streets of New Capenna.
Yeah.
Streets of New Capenna was like color pairs and a splash.
Yeah. I'm not sure what this is going to turn out to be, whether it's going to be pairs and a splash or whether it's going to be hard 3 colors. There are some things that make me lean more towards the pair and a splash. But I think the number of like multicolor uncommons that we have tend to contradict me a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like the thing that gives me like that makes me think that it might be more of like a true like hard three color set is um like one, the sheer number of like three color rares
Yeah.
that are gonna like that you're gonna want to like play,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
And
but
then
that could be your
also
splash though.
it could. And also like there's a lot of like I'm thinking of in particular uh skirmish rhino,
Hmm.
right? I think there's also like a reasonable number of or there's at least going to be like one at least one for each wedge
Yeah.
of like a three color uncommon.
Yeah.
And right, like you kind of get to this weird point where if you have like a three color rare and then a matching three color uncommon, then you're a little bit more eager to like I guess I'll take this good red white card, I'll take this good like white black card
Yeah.
and kind of like maybe back yourself into more of a like you know like 40-40-20,
Hmm.
right, where like you're more than a splash
Yeah.
but not like a third, a third, a third.
Right.
You know, like because like splash might be like 5 to 10% of your deck,
Hmm.
right? Like you have 2 to 4 cards of the color, but like if you get up to like 6 or 8,
A lot less of a splash.
yeah. Well, I guess 6 is I did my math wrong. So if you have 17 lands, perhaps 18 because you are a 3 color deck,
Right.
where you've got 22 spells. 7 of them being one color is a
It's
third.
a third.
Yeah, so like 3 or 4 is a splash, like in there 2 to 4.
Yeah.
And then like I think 5, 6, you are like kind of 3 colors at that point, not like purely split.
Yeah,
But
the reason I thought we might be leaning more towards two and a splash is because of the presence of like two color uncommons and the fact that we have
Mhm.
hybrid mana. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to have a splash when you have like hybrid.
Yeah, and the fact that the hybrids also have the colorless bailout.
Yeah.
And like I think part of that is without the colorless bailout, you get color screwed more.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're like whatever, we don't have morphs to be the like bailout for hey, you don't have your colors.
Right.
But like if you're a teamer but you only have blue and red mana, you can still play your teamer Tawny back on turn 4
Hmm.
for like 2 blue red.
Right.
Right? You still get to like play the game. So like maybe that like so you're on team 2 color and a splash, and I'm more arguing for like I'm at least hoping it's more of a 3 color set because those are typically slower.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think the
um
evidence like is in opposition to me though. When I first
yeah, okay.
looked at this set, I thought it was going to be two colors and a splash. But that's kind of why I wanted to do this episode, because when you start breaking down what's actually in the set, it seems like we're not getting an allied color pair, like gold card or whatever, multicolored card.
Yeah.
Because we have 5 and they're all enemy colors right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have some of a multicolor uncommon, sometimes 2, for the clans. And like if you look at the way the colors break down, the clans like contain an allied color pair that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't share with anybody else. The uncommon color or the enemy color pairs each clan shares with another clan, but the
Mm-hmm.
allied ones is unique to it. So I think the 3-color clan card at uncommon is going to kind of serve the same role as like an allied uncommon, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, uh, if some of you had a hard time following, so what he's saying is like, if you look at Mardu and Abzan,
Mm-hmm.
right? They both share white black,
Yep.
which are enemy colors.
Right.
But then there's white black and no other, which are allied, and no other color wedge has red black.
Correct.
And then Abzan has green white, and no other wedge has green white.
Right.
So there are a bunch of two-colored uncommons that have the like enemy color pair that get shared between clans.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are none that have the unique, at least right now, there are none that have the unique ally color pair.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. Um,
But like that's exactly why I wanted to do this episode though, because like if you haven't drafted something like this before, I think it's going to be really confusing when you start getting past packs.
Yeah. And so that's why we had talked about before, like there's more value in an early two-color card.
Yeah.
Because if you're a two-color card, you have the ability to pivot to whatever like wedge is open later.
Yep.
Right? You'd much rather be like, take a black-white card, take a black-white card. Okay, now third pick, I see a Mardu card. Oh, I bet you Mardu is open, right? Because I got this third pick, whatever. But if you, but like if you go like, Mardu card, and then like in the next pack the best card is green black. Well, like you can't realistically play both of them,
Right.
so you have to take a worse card.
Well, I have a theory for that too, but we'll operate under that assumption for now.
Right. So like when you so we've talked about a long time ago, and it has like changed some. The concept of like drafting the hard way, where you kind of take the best card and you try to stay open until you get like a signal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like,
actually, I think we've talked about that a couple times on the show.
Yeah. But like the best card to take first, right, would be a single color card, because it's going to leave you open to
the best card to take first is a colorless card, because it leaves everything open.
It leaves everything open, but like a single color card, right?
Yep.
And then a double color card, and like triple color cards are typically like, ugh, you don't want to do that.
Right.
Still, like we mentioned last week, I still think that like a 3-color card, probably not where you want to be to start, because you don't know what you're going to see next.
Right.
But like I think the 2-color cards, right, they're going to lock you into like, not lock you into, but they're going to put you into like one of two of the clans.
Mm-hmm.
And even like a single color card is really putting you in
3.
2 clan. 3? It's 3?
Well, yeah, if you have green, you're Teamer, Abzan, or Sultai.
So like you're not limiting yourself as much.
Right.
Right? Like usually in a normal draft environment there are 10 color pairs.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you take a single color card there, you're open to like 4 of those color pairs in theory.
Yep.
Right? Taking a double color card only like limits your options by 1.
Right.
But you have half as many options to start with.
Right.
So you're kind of in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not, a double color card here isn't as bad.
Right.
But you definitely don't want to like, now I say you definitely don't want to start with a 3-color card, but there are some cards that you're just going to be like, oh, if I ever resolve this, I just win the game.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably take this.
Yeah.
And like
figure the rest out as we go.
Figure the rest out. Like Well, take James's theory of how to be 4 colors here in a bit. But like, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna like try to make it work because this card reads stupid,
Yeah.
right? But like, taking a 2-color card is gonna leave you open to 2 places, and you can you can make it work,
Hmm.
and like, there should be enough fixing that if you're like, as long as you end up in a wedge that like touches it with a couple pieces of fixing or whatever, you may still be able to play that 2-color card.
Yeah, I
Right?
think
Like if you take a
like
oh god.
I was just gonna say that like this is gonna kind of lead into my more than 3 colors theory. Um, I have a feeling that the fixing is going to be fantastic in this set.
Mm-hmm.
We have all 10 of the gain life lands, and we have the 3 or the 5 tri lands, the triomes.
Mm-hmm.
Not triomes. The comes into play tapped ones.
Yeah. What the triomes used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sandstep Citadel and
Sandstep
Opulent
Citadel,
Palace, whatever.
Frontier Bivouac,
Yeah.
Mystic Monastery, and oh gosh, what
Whatever
is
the
the last
Mardu
one?
one was.
Oh, we're gonna find it. We're gonna cheat. I looked right at Nomad Outpost. I looked right at it and just kept scrolling. Nomad Outpost. Are they doing so? I haven't seen. Maybe you have. Are they putting 1 gain land in every pack? Like, are you guaranteed a gain land?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
That happens a reasonable amount where you're
Yeah.
guaranteed a gain lane in each pack.
That's part of my assumption, is that
Mhm.
I don't have confirmation on that, but I'm assuming we're going to get 1 in every pack. And the reason is because this is going to go into my more than 3-color theory here, and then we'll get down into like the breakdown and how we think like there's going to be overlap and what to look out for and stuff. I think the like secret archetype or the bonus archetype or whatever you want to call it is going to be 5-color dragons, because it's Dragonstorm and there's like a bunch of 3-color dragons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's going to be some piece of fixing that lets you cast dragons easy, and are you raising your hand? Yeah,
I'm raising my hand. Sorry, I can't
Brian.
get on camera. Dragonstorm Globe, 3 mana.
Okay.
Each dragon you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
Okay.
Tap, add 1 mana of any color.
There you go.
So there's your 3 mana rock
Yep.
that encourages you to dragon.
I wouldn't even be surprised if we got a land that like taps for any color for a dragon. But I think because the fixing. Oh, we have that too, Brian.
It's at rare.
Okay.
Maelstrom of the Spirit Dragon. Tap, add a colorless tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a dragon spell or an omen spell. And then 4, tap, sack this land, search your library for a dragon card, reveal it, put it into your hand.
All right. There we go.
And there's also a green. I think it's a rare. So it's not going to matter that much. Like the land's not going to matter that much.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, it's an uncommon. The green one's an uncommon. Dragon Brood's Relic is 1 in the green. Tap, add an oh wait, no, never mind. This is tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. But there's one that's like, oh, here it is. It's a rare. Herd Heirloom, and it's 1 in the green. Add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a creature spell.
Okay.
So it fixes for like everything, but could also like dragon.
Yeah. I'm also just coming across a cycle at common of creatures that filter mana.
Yes.
So I think there will be enough fixing to do basically whatever you want as far as a dragon deck goes. And like being named Dragonstorm, I think that they're going to kind of want to encourage a dragon deck. And the fact that we have the omen cards, and there's a cycle of like off-color omen cards also, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all in there, like that cycle is at uncommon.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that there's opportunity for shenanigans for some kind of more than 3-color
Yeah,
archetype.
you could definitely the the omens encourage you to put like a bunch of like 5, 6, 7, 8 mana dragons in your deck, but then have interaction
Right.
at lower mana cost, so you don't just get clowned by people who like are playing 3 and 4 drops.
Right.
Right. So they are kind of encouraging you to like go hard on the dragons, but don't worry, we're gonna bail you out.
Mm-hmm.
They also spoiled a mythic 5-color dragon spell that is
Oh, the
not
thing that
currently
like wins the game or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good, but it is a 5-color like I don't think it's limited good, but it is a
Right.
5-color dragon payoff if we're in that area. But no, I could see like there being like a 5-color dragon or some sort of 5-color deck.
Mm-hmm.
So in original cons, the 5-color deck was the most fun.
Yeah.
It was the Trail of Mystery deck.
Yep.
Which was like whenever you unmorph a creature, search your deck for a basic land.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would get a Trail of Mystery, and then you would just draft every common morph.
Yep.
And the lands. That was all you took. It was the best. I would draft it without Trail of Mystery and hope that someone would open it and pass it because I took all the fixing.
Yeah.
But it is it will be fun to have a 5-color archetype
mm-hmm.
in the format. So like I could see that happening. All right. So what else we got going on here?
I think that's it as far as like laying the groundwork goes. And
okay.
Like as we work through like the color pairs and trios and how they overlap, I think some of what we'd already said is going to start to make sense, or at least I hope it does.
Oh, I do want to bring up when you mentioned the 3-color lands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we said this last week or not. Like, you can take those if they only touch 2 of your colors.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So we had mentioned about like, kind of, if you're at like, pick like 6, 7, 8, and there's like a dual land that hits one of your colors. Right, you can take it because maybe it'll enable you to splash, or you'll like move to that like other wedge because you open a bomb later or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right, in the same way, like even a little earlier, if there's a triome that hits 2 of your colors, you take it because it fixes 2. But then, hey, you open a bomb in another in that color, and you want to splash, now you have that like ability to splash for kind of free.
Yep.
So like take him because they're a dual land for you, and then maybe the 3rd color pays off later. So I just wanted to point that out, that like when they touch 2, it's still good.
I mean, I would also argue that maybe that could enable like a dual splash.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you end up with a red-blue deck, or you take like a red-blue card and have like a I don't know what bivouac, and like you end up in a teamer deck, but then you get past like a Jeskai card, and you have like a Tranquil Cove or whatever. Like you may be able to splash like a green and a white card in your red-blue deck.
Yeah. Yeah, like you have like if you have like you got like a Frontier Bivouac and a Rugged Highlands.
Yep.
Okay, you got 2 red sources for free, and then and then even something like a Windscarred Crag, where it would be colorless for the it's not Windscarred Crag, Blossoming Sands.
Yep.
Where it might be colorless for a lot of your spells, it lets you cast those splash cards and gives you like a source of each. So it's like better than just putting a plains in your deck.
Right.
Because it's also the green source you need sometimes.
Yep.
Okay. So we're gonna start with Sultai, because we has more Sultai cards.
Yeah, except now we're not talking about cards, so it doesn't matter where we start.
That's fine.
But yeah, we'll start
We'll
with
talk about
Sultai.
Sultai.
So like we talked about last week, the Sultai mechanic is Renew, which what was Renew again?
Renew is pay a cost, exile the card from your graveyard, put counters for the most part. Put counters on a +1/+1 counters on a creature.
Yep.
And then get some effect.
Yep.
That effect might just be the +1/+1 counters, or it might be all of your creatures becoming the creature you put counters on till the end of turn. Wide range. Wide range.
Yep.
Oh, I got 2 +1/+1 counters. I made 17 Craterhoof Behemoths. Like it could be anything.
Obviously that cares about things being in your graveyard. So the Sultai archetype is likely going to be graveyard centric. At the very end of this, I kind of arranged this to go like around the circle. So we're going to come back to Sultai at the end when we talk about green and blue also. Yeah, obviously this is going to be some sort of graveyard based deck. I guess there's not a whole lot of
Without the cards.
Without the cards, yeah, there's not a whole lot of depth to go in here. So like just to touch on it, I guess we'll do it now and then come back to it at the end. The other mechanic that Sultai will have access to, other than Renew, is Harmonize from Teamer. There will likely be blue-green cards with Harmonize that, if you remember from last week, Harmonize lets you cast cards out of your graveyard by kind of pseudo-convoking. Like you can use your creatures to pay for part of the casting cost, or the cost of the ability or whatever. And both of those things are pretty graveyard centric. Like they basically have to be in your graveyard for the mechanic to work. So
so yeah, and like a lot of times the best like supported graveyard mechanics, there are going to be enablers that are just like put some number of cards in your graveyard.
Yep.
Pick a card from them, put it in your hand. You know, kill this thing, mill 2 cards.
Yep.
Right. There's gonna be a lot of ways. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of ways to put cards in your graveyard that don't actually require you to cast the card and have it die or whatever.
Yep.
So you said Sultai has Renew, which puts counters on things.
Yep.
And then we have Abzan, which it shares black and green with.
Right. So just like we were talking about with Harmonize, where there will be blue and green cards that will also work in the Sultai deck because they care about the graveyard, there will be black-green cards that will work in the Abzan deck because they care about counters. The two mechanics that Abzan will have access to are the Endure mechanic and the Renew mechanic from Sultai. So going back to last week's episode, the Endure mechanic lets you either put +1/+1 counters on the creature that has Endure, or you get a spirit token.
Yeah.
Both of those.
So they get.
Go ahead.
So if you like have a bunch of black, green, gold cards, you want the white cards that have Endure, and not the white cards that have the whatever the what is Jeskai mechanic on it.
Flurry.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
And I just thought of something as you're explaining this.
Sure.
And so we mentioned that in a normal set you have the 10 color pairs. And we only have 5 wedges.
Right.
But do you think there's going to be a chance, or do you think the set was designed so that you could have 2 Abzan drafters, one that is a +1/+1 counters deck?
Could be.
And then one that is, oh gosh, you said it so elegantly before, and now I forget what it was. Right?
Tokens.
Like, tokens, yeah, because you like, because you had said like, oh, it's gonna have access to this mechanic and this mechanic.
Yeah.
Right? So basically you could think of each wedge as having 2 distinct decks.
I mean, possibly. It's hard to say without having like seen all the cards, which made this episode awkward. But like I felt it when I was trying to break the set down in my head. It felt like this was an important thing to understand before you start drafting. So I felt like we should talk about it. But
I guess Abzan doesn't. I shouldn't have said the like Jeskai cards. Like Abzan is more tied to Mardu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry. So yeah. So it's gonna be mobilize and renew.
And
so like
we're gonna talk about that next because we're talking about Mardu next.
Yeah, but like you could kind of see like
2 versions of the same colors.
Yeah, you could be in a situation where like you're on one side of the pod in a +1/+1 counters deck, and there's someone on the other side of the pod who's in like an Abzan kind of more go wide deck, and you don't want the same cards.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be overlap, but yeah, like when you're looking at, building a thematic deck or a mechanically identified deck, synergistic deck, there's going to be 2 Abzan drafters.
Yeah, well, like, I guess when you say you don't want the same cards, you don't want the same gold cards, right? They want the black, you want the black-green gold cards because they care about +1/+1 counters, and they want the black-white gold cards because they care about going wide.
Yep.
Okay, so that makes sense. Is like each drafter wants different.
Yeah.
You can be in the same color pair, but you want different gold cards.
Yeah.
Because like the white cards, the endure mechanic cards, they go wide or they give counters, so they pivot. But then the gold cards are mechanic specific.
Yeah.
And they want to get like they don't work. You don't in theory you don't want a green black gold card and a white black gold card because they are supporting 2 different decks.
Yeah, they likely don't go together very well.
Okay.
But like that's the whole reason I wanted to do this episode, because it's so different than how we have drafted in like modern Magic.
Yeah, because like Streets of New Capenna did a really bad job of like it was the 2 color with a splash.
Yeah.
Kind of set, and that just evolved into being blue white. Like it was like you were like blue white, or did you get to be like there was another like there were only like 2 color or like playable like decks in that format.
Yeah.
I forget what the second one was. Okay, so Mardu.
Well,
so Mardu.
Hang on. So we kind of said that like Sultai is likely going to be some sort of graveyard deck. Abzan just kind of seems like it's going to be mid-range. Like no matter which way you go, it's just like generic mid-range. You're either making big creatures with your your endure tokens, or you're like putting counters on stuff, both of which are like solidly mid-range things to do.
Yeah. We haven't seen our Trumpet Blast.
Right.
That is going to be
well, I don't think Abzan wants to go wide though.
Fair.
Like the endure mechanic is go tall or go tall.
Is it?
Yeah, you're either making the thing big or you're making a big thing.
Yeah, I
you're
guess,
not making
like,
a number of tokens.
You're making a token.
Right.
I've been thinking of like a Descendant of the Storms, which is like a repeatable way to endure 1. So like each time it attacks, it like makes a 1/1.
Okay.
Right. Like, well, you pay 1 on the white and you can make 1/1. So it's the thing that had Boast from Keldheim.
Yeah.
It's like the same card. But yeah, I can I can see that where you're like making like just like a big creature.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So okay.
So then we talked about, or moving on from there, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
share white-black. Abzan's going to share white-black with Mardu. So white-black will have access to the Endure mechanic from Abzan and the Mobilize mechanic from Mardu.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these are, as you said, like token decks. And I think this is going to be the go wide portion where you you might get your trumpet blaster or whatever, inspired charge or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be more leaning this side than the other side. Kind of what you were saying also.
Yeah, like I guess like the Endure tokens have to hang around and like block.
Yeah.
The Mardu tokens, they're here for a good time, not a long time. They just get to run into a wall and they go away.
Right.
So
they're leaving either way.
They're leaving either way, so they might as well leave with 3 power as opposed to 1. So that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, like so now you have the go wide portion, and then so mobilize. And what was the other thing? Sorry, I'm old.
Endure. It gets Endure from Abzan and gets access to Mobilize.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, that is. This is maybe like so. They both can be go wide, which is interesting. So this is just like, this has like those two mechanics are less different.
Right.
So like you kind of just want to go wide in all cases. So it might be harder to support like 2 Mardu drafters because a lot of those cards are kind of like overlapping what they do, right?
It maybe, unless the flip side of the Mardu deck is more like aristocraty.
Fair.
Like if the side that overlaps with Abzan is aristocraty, where you care about, the size of the thing you're sacrificing, or just sacrificing an extra piece of cardboard, an extra game object, then it doesn't, like, that might be a little bit less aggro than like the go wide trumpet blast deck, which would be the other side.
Yeah. Okay. So like we mentioned it in the pre-show. I don't know what it's called. But there's a weird village rights that gives a creature +1/-1.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that all of your mobilized tokens are X1s.
Yep.
Or 1/1s. So a great thing to give +1/-1 and draw 2 cards.
Yep.
So like if you have it, like you have ways, there are hints. There haven't been a lot of stuff, but there are some hints of like, sacrifice all of these little idiots that we've given you, please.
Yeah, like that's kind of what made this episode tough, is we don't have all the cards yet.
Yeah.
But I knew like there was something here that was worth talking about, so.
So you're just kind of like working our way around. So what do we got next? Is we got Jeskai?
Yeah, we already covered that Mardu shares white-black with Abzan. So then the other pair that it's going to share is white-red, and it's going to share that with Jeskai. White-red is going to have access to the mobilized stuff from Mardu, and also the flurry stuff from Jeskai. Which kind of both just seem like aggro mechanics.
Yeah, there was a card spoiled today. It's a rare, but Corey Steel Cutter. It's an equipment for 1 and a red, and we're not doing too many cards. But whenever you cast your second spell, you make a 1/1 monk. So
I think there's a creature that has that ability also. It's flurry, make a monk.
There was an old one that from Keldheim that was like, it was like a flyer that made a 1/1.
Yeah,
I think.
I think there was a card in this set that
did
it
the
also.
same thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look for it right now, but
yeah, but I think that's how they're tying tying them together is you are right, like you cast 2 spells, you get to make
Yeah.
a 1/1 to help you go wide
Mm-hmm.
in red white to kind of like tie to mobilize.
I guess like the other side of that is if you, and again, we don't know what the set looks like yet, but if you are like a spell heavy deck, you can kind of afford to be if the targets for your spells are like your mobilized creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have a creature that's making 1 more or 2 more creatures every turn, then like you don't need to have the same creature density if you're playing like a bunch of pump spells and whatever.
Yeah.
So that might be how the Jeskai like flurry stuff ties into the mobilize, where your flurry might be, you know, a couple payoffs and like a bunch of pump spells.
Also like the downside with pump spells is always like they kill your creature out from underneath it.
Right.
If you target a token that again was on its way out the door anyway,
Mm-hmm.
it's only a 1-for-1 because they got your pump spell, but you got the removal spell, and the creature had like basically no value.
Well, it also had a 0% chance of living, so.
Yeah, so like it allows you to like kind of use your pump spells with a little bit more impunity
Yep.
because you aren't targeting a real piece of cardboard. You're just like targeting effectively nothing,
Right.
vapor.
Yep.
So um so what is our last thing or
So blue red is
okay.
obviously going to be what ties white red, or is going to tie Jeskai to Teamer.
Mm-hmm.
If you take the white red away from Jeskai, you're left with blue. Like that's going to be what's going to carry over into the next
Mm-hmm.
one for Teamer. Blue red mechanically has access to Harmonize and Flurry. So Flurry from Jeskai and Harmonize is the Teamer mechanic. I really don't know how these two relate. Like, well, I guess they relate in that like it can be your second. Like if you run out of cards, sometimes it's hard for the Spell Matters deck to stay fueled. And if your flurry cards are in your graveyard, like it's easy to get your second spell.
Mm-hmm. So I was gonna say that think about it like when we have like flashback,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like your spells, you get to cast your one spell twice.
Yeah.
So like you can think about it as like, you know, you play your 3 mana card that has flashback or harmonize in this case, and then you cast a 2 mana spell. You cast your 2 spells on turn 5.
Mm-hmm.
You got your like flurry thing, and then later in the game, now the harmonized cost is 5. It's turn 7. You can cast the harmonized thing for maybe 4 mana because you like lowered the cost, and then you get to cast a 3-drop. Now you get to cast your 2 spells again. So the harmonized cost is giving you a second bite at the apple.
Yep.
So you like it almost doesn't matter if like yes, it's better if you have like 3 and 4 power creatures to like reduce that harmonized cost. But like if every idiot that you make is like gets to be an Llanowar elf for one of your spells,
Mm-hmm.
right? That like mana that you get kind of can add up over time and allow you to cast those second spells.
Yeah.
More often. So, like I can see how it fits of like okay, you get to cast me twice.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like you just always have an extra spell.
Yeah.
Right? So, just thinking about it as like okay, I have some flurry cards. This harmonized card makes sense because it's 2 spells.
Yep. And that puts us back to the beginning, where
we made it.
Harmonize. No, renew.
It's harmonized.
Yeah, yeah, but going back to what's it called?
Yeah.
Sultai.
Mm-hmm. Where blue green is going to have your harmonized cards that want to be in the graveyard,
Right.
the same place that your renew cards want to be.
Yep.
But like again, like we talked about, like how you get them in the graveyard, right? Like in Sultai, you want to cast spells that just put your library into your graveyard.
Right.
Where in Teamer, right, that's tied together with Jeskai, you want to cast them to get the cast value off of them.
Yep.
So again, like you can be taking, like, you may both want blue green cards as Teamer and Sultai, but like there are some of the but maybe some of the effects are more Sultai versus team versus Jeskai kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have some big effect. I have a high mana cost. Okay, hey, that's like a Sultai thing, right? It's got green you can ramp. I'm like, both sides are like small impact.
Yeah.
But like cheap. Oh, hey, that's more of a Jeskai kind of like blue green card. Sorry, or red blue card.
Red blue.
Yeah. So just like, you can, they may have the same words on them, but the cost being different, right? The same keyword, but the cost being different is gonna want to put them in one deck versus another.
Yeah.
Because like, hey, I like flipped over my graveyard and I got like a card that is like 6 mana, draw a card in my graveyard. That's not the big payoff that Sultai was looking for flipping over its graveyard. It wants like, 6 mana removal spell that like it can make cheaper with some like 4/3.
Yeah.
Right? Where, hey, like, it's any spell, it replaces itself, amazing. I guess like in the late game I can make this 2 or 3 cheaper and get to cast my first spell and draw something else.
Yeah.
Is like more of like a Jeskai thing. So yeah, I like the kind of looking at, yes, there are 5 wedges, but there are
2 decks and a wedge.
2 decks and a wedge, so you get to your 10 archetypes.
Yeah.
Because like I don't feel like original cons had that.
No, that's the whole reason I wanted to do this episode, because I think it's a really complex thing to wrap your head around. But I think it's going to be really important for draft. I think like if you can figure out a way to get inside of this and figure out how it works, you're going to be a step ahead of, I think, a lot of people that are just sitting down for their first draft of this set.
Yeah, right. You want to be the person that, like, let's say pick like 4 or 5, goes like, oh, I'm a +1/+1 counters deck.
Yeah.
All right, like, now am I like the Sultai version, or am I the Abzem version? But I know I'm like the +1/+1 counters deck.
Yeah.
And then be open to blue cards, or white cards, right? You don't want to be like, I took a counters card, I took a graveyard card, I took a mobilized card, I took another counters card, right? Like, you don't want to be the I'm white black stuff.
Right.
You want to actually be like a deck.
Yeah, figure out what your identity is.
Yeah. So you can like know that, hey, this black white card is better for me than this other one, or this black card cares about counters.
Yeah.
This black card cares about graveyard. I'm the counters deck.
And like I could definitely see that happening too, with somebody, sitting down at a table used to drafting, a guild set or something, and just taking a whole bunch of, cards that share pips because they, not to say they don't know any better, but maybe that's how they're used to drafting. That's how it usually works. And then you sit down and you take a whole bunch of Mardu cards and you end up with a deck that doesn't do anything because you got all payoffs for one of the archetypes and all enablers for the other.
Exactly. Right? Like, it usually works that, like, right, like if you're sitting down to draft a a Ravnica set,
Yeah.
right? If you just take all the black and white cards, they kind of work together.
Yeah.
Right?
You'll at least have a cohesive deck.
Yeah. Like maybe like you'll have some like stragglers that like, oh, this was the Boros white card
Yeah.
and not the Orzhov white card. But even the Boros white card has some utility.
Right.
Right? But this is probably going to be more of a you are looking at making sure you're in that lane and getting the cards that fit that lane.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about it like that, of like taking the wedges and like splitting them.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I was kind of thinking about like, oh, you're just gonna like draft the wedges because that's what you did in cons. In cons, you kind of had like you had the wedges, the crazy like 5-color deck, and then like you could kind of do some things that were kind of like mushes of that, where you were like you had some morphs and things, but it was like but there really wasn't like a 7th and 8th archetype. Right, there was the wedge, the 5-color deck if it came together, and then like whatever. But this, it seems like they wanted to end up with 10 archetypes.
Yeah, I'm glad that I finally got my point across, because this is kind of what I was alluding to last week, and it seemed like, I don't want to say you weren't like getting what I was trying to say, because you were. I just didn't know how to work. And like you said it perfect, where it's split in the wedge in half.
Yeah,
and I was trying to approach it from the other end, but like say the same thing.
Yeah, but it's going to be important to like at the start of the drafting of this, right? You're going to want to get a sense of how fast the format is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be slow just because there's going to be a lot of tap lands in the format.
Yeah, I agree.
And then once you see that, making sure that you know, like, okay, like what you can and can't do, like kind of time wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming it's gonna be like that. You're gonna need 2 drops because modern Magic formats you need 2 drops.
Have to have 2 drops
to just not get clowned.
Yep.
But right, like they're probably not like you talked about the color fixers that every color has.
I was just gonna say I'm pretty sure they're all 2 drops. They are, well, except for the white one. The white one's a 1 drop.
The white one. But like they're 2 drops, but it's like a 2/1, a 3/3 defender, a 1/2. Where's the green one?
It's a 2/1.
Okay, I'm not seeing it.
It's a 2/1 with Death Touch.
Yeah, which is like the most defensive creature you can defense.
Yeah.
Right. So like they're all kind of like defensive.
The black one also is a reassembling skeleton.
Yeah. So like block, put it back in my hand again, like defensive and slow.
Yep.
So like those are giving the like, hey, we are taking our time here. Oh, sorry, the red one's a 2/2. I read the wrong card. But none of them are like a 3/1.
Right.
Right. So they're all more geared towards you like playing a longer game.
Mm-hmm.
And then like just getting good as you draft it, figuring out like again, like after those first handful of picks, what color am I supposed to pair with these cards that I have?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, again, there are going to be like if you open one of the like mythic dragons, like congratulations, you are that color.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're at least playing 2 of them and you're figuring out a way how to
get it
like,
in there.
Splash this thing.
Yeah.
But like otherwise, right, like I don't know if there are how many of the rares that you're just like, oh yeah, buddy, I'm in for this like 3-color rare.
Yeah.
It's like
maybe not.
Maybe not. So So don't feel like you have like a lot of them are good, but not like so good that you're like, I've got to warp my draft around
Yeah.
this card I just opened. So, and like you can even see like the sieges,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like those, those are a good place to be like, okay, like if you get one of those, like, okay, great. Now you can figure out like which one of the two you want.
Yeah, I mean, the sieges are almost like a better signpost than anything that I was trying to portray today, and I didn't even think about it until you just said that, because they're literally what we were just talking about. The siege
Yeah.
is one of the enemy color pairs that does two very different things, depending on like
So,
which archetype you're going to put it in.
so Windcrag Siege, I think we said no cards, but now we're just going to go off
Yeah.
the roster. One in the red enchantment. When it enters, you get to choose Mardu or Jeskai. The Mardu is if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So that double triggers all your mobilized stuff.
Yep.
Right? Jeskai is the beginning of at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. It gains lifelink and haste until the end of turn. I don't know how that's like super Jeskai and like supports.
Yeah.
I guess it supports like kind of like a like the yeah. I don't know how that's very Jeskai.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Glacierwood Siege is a little bit better. It's the 1 blue green. The teamer is when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, target player mills 4 cards. So that is you. It can be you.
Yep.
And that lets you put harmonized cards in your graveyard.
Yep.
Or also support your like Sultai nonsense.
Yep.
And then Sultai is you may play lands from your graveyard. Which you've got cards in your graveyard. Now you can play your lands out.
Yep.
Okay, Sultai, why did you put your cards there anyway? Black green is Hollow Merc Siege. It's just black green. The Sultai version, right, is put a counter on a creature you control. Whenever you put a counter on a creature you control, draw a card. This ability triggers once each turn. So when you renew something,
Yep.
you get to draw a card. Abzan, whenever you attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature, and it gains menace. Right? That supports like the +1/+1 counter theme.
Yep.
And then do we have any of the other sieges?
Yeah.
Oh, the black-white one?
Well,
we have all of them.
Yeah, we have all of them. Frostcliff is blue-red. Jeskai is whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player or draw a card. And Teamer is creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample and haste. So obviously the Curiosity is going to let you like fuel up for your flurry nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And the +1/+0 is going to let you cast your it's easier, harmonize.
Mm-hmm.
And then Baron Step is the white-black one. Abzan is at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, supporting the +1/+1 counter theme. And Mardu, it is at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice, which is something to do with all the mobilized tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Turns them into value.
Yeah. So like you can kind of see how they fit together from those as well, or at least how Wizards thinks that they should fit together.
Right.
Which sometimes matters, and sometimes it doesn't for the draft archetype. Sometimes it's just like, oh, paint by numbers is what Wizards wanted me to do, and it works. And other times it's like, we got to come up with a different archetype for this.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. So maybe we can, like, once we get more of the uncommons, or maybe we can, like, do part of the set review, can be like, hey, here are the signposts.
Yeah.
And, like, another thing we can maybe look at for an episode is, like, the pivot cards.
Okay.
Like, hey, this is a card that works in this deck or in this deck. Right? Like, hey, if you take this, you're not locked into a deck because you can go this way or this way.
Yeah. Well, maybe I guess it depends on where we are in the time frame when we get access to said cards.
Yeah, and like how band happy they go next week.
Yeah. Maybe we can do an episode that's just like more limited stuff. If like there's even anybody interested in limited stuff, or maybe not. Maybe we'll just do it anyway.
Yeah. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, but we can talk
We're
about
the hosts.
yeah, like the pivot cards. The other when we get the actual signposts, we can figure out what the signposts are and go from there.
And all that jazz. Yeah.
Yep.
So you got anything else?
I don't. Just hope that like somehow this made sense, because I had a pretty tough time like getting what was in my head into words here.
Yeah.
It's kind of a complex topic, so.
Yeah. But with that, I think we got a show.
We got a show.
So if you've got things you want us to talk about, any cards that look interesting, please reach out on social media, or just if you want to say hey, Facebook, Discord, Twitter, Blue Sky, or email. All those links are in the description. Say hey and let us know what's up.
Yep. Let us know if you like the limited content. You're probably going to get more even if you don't, but let us know. You can yell at us if you want. I got big shoulders. Won't hurt my feelings. If you want to support the show, there's two ways you can do it. The first is via our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Surf on over there, do your shopping, support the show at the same time. Doesn't cost you guys anything extra, really helps us out. The other way is through our Patreon, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. You can chip a couple bucks in. You get access to more content in the form of our unshow, about another hour-ish every week. Comes out a couple days, whatever, before the show goes live. And you also get access to my show notes, so you kind of get a sneak peek about what we're going to be talking about. Also, sometimes there's stuff in the show notes that doesn't make it into the show, so that's a bonus for people reading the show notes.
Yeah. All right, so with that, we'll catch you on the internets.
We'll catch you on the internets.